You know, it's weird to consider that the Bad Boys movies have all come out so far apart that they all play more like commentaries on themselves and their genre than they do like actual movies. There's really only two recurring main characters, and Joey Pants as the captain. He's the only one who could be said to be inhabiting a character rather than a riff on an outside-the-frame established celebrity persona, and while the fact of Will Smith if he was a cop teamed with Martin Lawrence if he was also a cop overtakes the meta-narrative of the Marcus and Lowry characters in part 2, the aggressive commitment to we know this doesn't matter non-storytelling in the actual narrative keeps the original's not spoken aloud but widely understood main genre conceit thumping at the heart of things. Let's revive the bad taste, shoot first, socially irresponsible police work as urban warfare buddy cop movies of the 80s, but this time both characters are the hip funny black comedian from a TV show. And you know, the fact that this has endured as some kind of a brand more or less says that it clearly worked, right? I mean, not bad when you consider that before they decided they were going in a different direction with the casting, the first one was supposed to be a vehicle for John Lovitz and Dana Carvey, coasting entirely on the here's every cop cliche ever and it's funny because we named the movie after the theme song from Cops. But plug two rising star sitcom actors and a young action director out to prove he can make anything look exciting, and they had a hit. And then everyone involved became much more famous, so it took 8 years to do another one that's generally remembered as one of the most over-the-top violent and explosive films of its type, sequel or otherwise, and now, almost but not quite 20 years later, people have had some career ups and downs, so it's time to do a third one and see if there's any blood left in this stone, though this time without original director Michael Bay, and some screenwriting gymnastics to account for Martin Lawrence not exactly having kept in peak action hero shape over the last few decades, let's say, at least not like Will Smith has. So in case you've forgotten your Bad Boys lore, don't worry about it, there isn't any. They're two best friends who are detectives in Miami. Will Smith is the cool one who's rich and wears cool suits and dates models, and Lawrence is the frustrated married guy who lives in the suburbs and gets nagged by his wife, which is her whole character, with both of them getting too old for this shit, but only Lawrence's character feeling up for retirement. Their hand gets forced when a new crop of bad guys on the streets nearly kill Smith off for good, leading Martin to swear a promise of pacifism to God while Will swears revenge and re-enlists with a new crew, largely comprised of, yes, younger, tech-savvy millennial cops who regard him as a legendary but out-of-touch older mentor, so that the second act can be all about generational gap jokes, with Smith being bamboozled by new police technology and 21st century procedures, and of course the younger characters being shown old school tricks and the usual stuff you're expecting while minor character details get dropped. You know, just in case this veritable Burger King Kids Club of new characters clicks enough to get their own spin-off. They're not gonna get their own spin-off. Though only Paula Nunes makes any real impact as the ostensible leader, and of course it's not long at all before Lawrence is reluctantly pulled back into the storyline anyway. The villains this time, of course, are the Mexican cartels, because every action movie screenwriter in Los Angeles binged Narcos 5 years ago on Netflix, and now this is the default set of generic bad guys for every goddamn movie like this. They at least have a sort of colorful leader in Kate Castillo as a Santeria practicing bruja boss, with a vendetta against the main heroes that I thought was going to tie back to the second movie in a fun way, but turns out to just tie back to some new shit they made up for this one, which is disappointing to say the least, and turns out to involve a very dumb retcon that's, granted, you know, one doesn't just attend a Bad Boys movie for the plot, it's for the action scenes and the comic interplay, and while there are a few certain bangers here, including at least one expertly executed surprise twist kill and an absolute knockout of a club fight to shootout to car chase to chopper fight sequence that acts as the main highlight plus some solid shoot-em-up moments in between, yeah, it does me no joy to report that you can't take 1/3 of the Michael Bay, Will Smith, Martin Lawrence cocktail away and expect it to still work. I mean, the new directors aren't bad. That would be Adil El Arabi and Bilal Fallah from Belgium. They both hand in solid work, and they clearly have a future wrangling American action blockbusters. They're already signed to do Beverly Hills Cop 4 for Eddie Murphy. I'm sure they'll do fine, but without the Bayhem signature to the action beats, Bad Boys for Life mostly feels like another action film. Not a bad one, but not really anything special, apart from the vague sense of connection to a movie franchise that's old enough to be a nostalgic reference to itself instead of its own references. So yeah, I'll give this one 6 out of 10. It's entertaining enough. I do appreciate some of the more subtle throwouts to the previous movies for the fans. There's a decent effort at making sure the chemistry still lands organically, and it does. And the fans who just wanted to see the characters again will no doubt leave more or less satisfied. I can't call it a must-see though.